Hey, Nancy, sorry, I know you're on. We'll start this in a second. We're just getting a couple last-minute materials. Thank you. Okay, I think all set if I call this to order.
Yeah, Sebastian's down there. He had called and said he was going to be a little late, but he made it. So
Fantastic.
we are all good.
I will call this September 12th meeting to order. Ask for a roll call.
Donna Jett.
Present.
Ellen Martin.
Present.
John Mysick.
Present.
We are all here. Thank you.
With that, we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's good to see everybody here. It's been a while, so fun to be back together. And I'll start with any announcements from commissioners.
Yes, I attended the Carmel Heritage Tour on Saturday. It was a lovely day. None of the homes I had been in before, and they were all, some were small, some were larger. They were the modern ones were gorgeous, well done in small spaces, and everybody had a really good time. So I encourage everybody to support the Carmel Heritage.
Any announcements from staff?
I don't have any announcements at this time.
Any public appearances for items not on the agenda?
If they're on the agenda, I'd say questions on the parade, the community event. So I'm assuming those are being covered.
Probably the
time in
fourth
them.
order of business. I think we'll get into that. So thank you,
Okay.
Nancy.
Okay.
With that, why don't we move on to approve the minutes for the May 9th regular meeting?
I make a motion we approve the minutes as stated.
I second it.
Donna Jett.
Yes.
Ellen Martin.
Yes.
John Mysick.
Yes.
Approved. Thank you.
Receive an after-action report on the July 4th Monterey Pops concert.
You or me? Me? Okay, so one of the wonderful things that came out of pandemic is that the Pops came to play for our 4th of July celebration, and we're so pleased that they are coming back year after year. We hope to continue working with them in the future. We had the Cypress Airs there, and they are a great group. They were at the library, and they'll be back at the library for the holidays, actually. Wonderful, wonderful songs, wonderful mix of people. And I think one of the nice things about that concert and being here in town and local is that you can go and listen to the open rehearsal part of things. If you don't want to do the whole crowd things, you can still take in some patriotic music before the concert even starts. Every year they do something a little different in terms of who they have as soloists and singers. This year it was the Gettysburg Address. And we had a performance of the Norwegian March Valdres. We're just so lucky to have the Pops come to our community. This year we also added in, we've had requests for the return of our traditional patriotic fare of hot dogs. So the Carmel Host Lions set up their food booth on 6th Avenue, and they had their hot dogs and bratwurst. And they did sell out just about to as things were getting started. So that's great, and we want to, they would like to come back next year, and we would like to have them back next year as well. And there have been a couple other groups that have contacted us about doing something similar as well. So we'll probably be slowly bringing back the food component of this event as we go along, and everybody's happy with that. We, for overall, the event ran well in terms of street closures and parking and making sure that we had all of those things. We shared the cost of advertising as we've done in the past with the Monterey Pops, which is great. I love doing that kind of collaboration, and we do that for a couple of our other events as well. And then, of course, we rerouted the buses like we do when we close the streets down for farmers market, and that went smoothly. And all in all, it's a great event. The park has consistently, since we've had the Pops, been full, and we're looking forward to working with them next year. Any questions or thoughts or observations, if you were all there?
Yes, I was there, and it was lovely. I used to be on their board, and they, in the history, they performed at Naval Postgraduate, and which was huge until 9/11, and that kind of changed it all. So I'm happy that they're coming to us because they do a great job, and it's a good group. So it supports our local musicians because they are paid. They're paid, and they're all local. So no, it's a great idea that they decided to come, and I'm coming next year. They need more hot dogs, though.
Yeah, I went to get one. They were gone.
Yeah, I think they only had 700 or 800, and they ran out, and people were wanting hot dogs. So Bruno's did a good business then.
So I was able to go later in the afternoon and loved the Pops, and I just think it's such a great event. And Diefendorf Park is really a great place for all the families to come together. I'm sad that I missed the Gettysburg Address, which I'm from Illinois, so I know that address. And that was a cool component to have. That's very unique, and so that I was surprised to hear about that. And I just thought the park looked great, and the city did a great job. And the Pops are great in their Union House, so that's really nice too. So thank you to all the staff for putting that together.
Any comments from the public?
Ditto on the thank you. Everything was great. Yeah, loved it. Do it again.
Great, thank you. Next, we'll move on to receive an after-action report on Car Week 2023.
All right, so I'm going to preface this staff report with a little caveat, which is that my report today will be focused very much on the events that went through the permitting process and community activities. Car Week is huge, and it encompasses the entire peninsula, and that encompassing can be fun sometimes and frustrating for those of us who live and work here and getting from point A to point B. Police chief and I will be giving a full report out after our survey closes and a few other meetings we have to get feedback to the city council at the regular October meeting. So this is just event focused for our purposes today. And I will start that off with everything ran pretty smoothly. We had the Acura in the park on Tuesday. That's a legacy group that worked with a Concours on the Avenue with the Friedmans. They, set up, breakdown with them, go smoothly. We didn't have any issues there. Wednesday, we had Concours for a Cause. That's a new event that we hadn't previously hosted before. That's Good Roots, Inc. They do manage our farmers market, and they were interested in putting on an event. They do large-scale events in other places, so they have that expertise. And I think they learned this is a different type of event than they're used to doing. And so I think they learned some things, and that event went well. There was a local component, which was great. They had some entrance and a little bit of a judging ceremony, and proceeds went to the Carmel High School auto shop. And it's great to see those type of things stay local. I know this is a big international type of feel, but their goal with that was to, showcase electric cars, but also highlight the great things that we have in our community going on. Locals who have classic cars, some of whom had been judged and participated on Concours on the Avenue, which I thought was a very special thing, and to have their knowing our community's love for that event, and still missing that we don't have that. And then Thursday, we had the Prancing Ponies All-Woman Car Show. This is their 5th year, pandemic notwithstanding. And then we also had the Ferrari Owners Club on Dolores Street. We had no issues with Ferraris getting confused about which place they should be in, so that went very well. I think for the Ferrari Owners Club, the only issue we had there was that there was a car still parked on the street while they were trying to get in. And our police department was great and made sure the car got moved so they could continue loading in. This year was unique. I know we've had the community wants to see the larger events like Pebble Beach Tour d'Elegance that used to happen on Thursdays and Concours on the Avenue. And, events in general are challenging and so detail oriented. And not only for car shows, it's having that level, or having a team that has that level of expertise to make sure things run smoothly and safely, but also connections with the car community in general. So while we didn't receive we had received interest in putting on a larger event, but no applications last year. I thought that having the smaller events worked very well. I already have permit applications in that we'll be, reviewing throughout the year as more details come together from most of our people who had events this year. And I do have another application in that's being reviewed for a potentially larger event. And I'm continually reminding our community that Concours on the Avenue, our special event that we had, did start out much smaller than when the last year we had it. It wasn't all the way down Ocean Avenue. It didn't encompass some of the side streets. So I'm hoping, with some time and patience, that the event organizers we've been working with can continue to grow their events, add in those detail things that we love so much about Concours on the Avenue, and that we'll see that in the future. The Community Activities Department also processed parking stall permits. This is a tradition that's been going on for many years with our business owners in town, where they will reserve a parking stall in front of their business, and to promote it, to increase visibility. And I will be going into more detail about that as part of our larger after action for Concours on the Avenue, and some of the impacts, I think, that occurred as the result of the renting of parking stalls. But it was nice to see the town so vibrant and busy. And I must thank our Carmel Police Department for all of their support, because the Community Activities Department, I know all of you know, doesn't operate in a vacuum. So the Carmel Police Department, Public Works, who put out all of our delineators and barricades and signage. I mean, that's a lot of literal heavy lifting. And, when we had to switch things up last minute or make changes, they were flexible and helpful for us. And also our VIPs, they were out there, the white shirts, on the street corners, and they've provided us with some of their after action notes that we'll get into at the October meeting. But just thanking everybody who helped to support and keep things safe in our village, and thanks to the event organizers for being respectful of our village as we're working through permit details, and acknowledging, oh, this won't fit here, or this is how it works for Carmel, and understanding, our uniqueness and how their event would fit into that and reflect the community back. So looking forward to giving the after action with the chief at the October meeting. And if there's any questions specific to the events or comments, we'll incorporate those into after action if you have any.
I do. The Ferrari event was really fun. They had Italian music playing, and they had it was so much. I mean, it was really alive, and people loved it. Nobody wanted to leave, and they had the motorcycles that they had ridden too. And so I see that expanding quite, because it was so supported by all those Italian cars. But my question, and I went to all of the events, Prancing Ponies didn't advertise their fashion show. And so people didn't know about it. And so, because I knew two people that were involved in being in it and doing fashion, so everyone said, how did you know there was a fashion show? So that would be my only comment to them. And my other question was it Lamborghini who rented 30 parking stalls at the beach? Someone rented a lot of parking at the beach for their cars. And it wasn't an event. They just parked them there.
We didn't rent any stalls down at the beach. That's not something that we would do. It did come up in discussion. There was some requests for, it wasn't Lamborghini, it was another big car company that had requested that, but we did not process any applications for that.
Somebody mentioned, I didn't see it, so I don't know if it happened or not.
We did have the impromptu kind of Aston's on the Avenue, which was between Lincoln and Monteverde Street. And we're going to look at, how we do that in the future. It was something that evolved in the week or two before Car Week, and we appreciate that then the people that spearheaded that were Muse Gallery, and they're wonderful to work with, and I think that went smoothly with them, but we want to re-examine how we did that for next year, and I'll address that in October with the council.
Well, overall, I thought the city did an amazing job on all of it. And I was happy to see that much activity during the week, so that people come here as well as go out, because I went to PG and saw an exhibit there in the barnyard. So I was happy that we had all this going on and so well run. And I can see where a couple of them might get bigger, and I think our city can accommodate them.
Nancy?
Yes. Yeah, I got a couple quick questions, and I've replied to your survey, Ashley, and hopefully you've gotten good response to that public survey, and I know you'll represent that in October, so I won't rehash any of that, but I had two questions. One is, when do the requests or permits for next year get approved? What's the general timing, plus or minus? So that's a question. And then the other one is, when the businesses, whether it's Muse or others, choose to rent a space out in front of their business, is that the same cost as it would be if there was construction, or is it a different cost model? And I could understand if it's different, so I'm not complaining. I just kind of want to understand what that is, what for just future considerations. Thank you. And otherwise, I just generally agree. I like the smaller events. I've got some angst on the Prancing Ponies, but we'll cover that later.
Thank you for your questions, Nancy. So our permit applications, in some cases, I know Mr. Friedman had his application for the next year in the day after Car Week for that last year. So I do have some in already, and that holds the date. And this is the same as how we work on events, Leslie, and formerly Margie and I, which is they kind of evolve as you go along. So the applications I have in, I touch base with our event organizers, or try to, at least starting in January, once a month, to say, what else have you added in? What other vendor have you added in, as they are tweaking things? Because, things happen where, we can't use this rental company for this thing anymore. They don't do that. We have to switch things up. So just checking in with them so that by the time we get to August, we have all the completed details and can do that final sign off on here's where everything is. But, and another piece of that too is, and maybe not so much for the events at the size that they are now, but sponsorships are really key. So making sure that they have the confidence to go through and get those sponsorships, because, it's not, these events need funding. It's not a free type of thing where everybody shows up. You need staff or, volunteer, all of those things. So I hope that answers your questions. I would love with event organizers that everything is, comes into me absolutely complete, but there's so many variables with event planning and contingency things you have to think of with weather and all that stuff that it just doesn't work that way. And as somebody that likes to be organized, I've learned over the years to be flexible and understanding about that. So they're continually evolving. And as we do things with staff too, what we do with the after action and what feedback we get from the community. And we did have 225 responses as of yesterday for our survey, which is really good. That all gets factored into how we work with the event organizers going forward, saying, no, we have a new policy on this based on community input and you can't do that. Or if you do that, you need to do it like this. So we continuously work with them and talk with them on those types of things. And then for the parking stalls, there is a different cost model. It's specific to Car Week, and it's specific to the week of leading up into the holidays. Parking stalls for this type of rental are $200 per space. And again, this is something that will be brought up during the after action. I have been thinking about our rental of parking stalls and what impacts they may have, or a potential contribution to some of the chaos, and is it a good mechanism for control that we need to strengthen for some of those things and consider, closing streets down partially, or is it something that we potentially think about not doing anymore? And so that will be for discussion as the larger picture thing in October.
So if you can, but I get it if you want to push it off. So is that $200 for the week, or is that per day on that one? And then on the approval of new permits for the following year, is that kind of like everything's conditionally approved upon receipt, or can you, pull the plug on something entirely? I mean, how much flexibility do you have on welcoming or not, or on the timing? Thanks.
Right. So parking stalls are per space per day, and they pay the application fee along with that, as well as if there's any stanchions or red carpet, some of the spots you may have seen like that, that's an encroachment permit fee that goes along with that. And then for the permit approval for the overall Car Week events is the permits are in I wouldn't say conditionally approved, but holding that space and time for that event organizer as they work through finalizing details so that we know we have this there. I have not had cause to so far reject any applications, but the applications are our jumping point off for how are we doing this, and making sure that our event organizers have thought of everything. How's your load-in going to look out? Where are you staging? And it's some of those things that people don't think about, but we get to. And we work with the police department on reviewing all of these components. So yes, the applications are in as placeholders. Conditionally, we understand that those will probably move forward, but if anything comes up or any policies change, we can pull the plug because, as a city, we're not governing the content of events. That would be a violation of First Amendment rights. But what we want to ensure is safety in the village. So we do have the power to govern time, place, and manner. And so very careful about making sure those things are balanced.
Along those lines, I ran into this recently, and I just wonder if we apply it. When somebody puts in their application or they pay the $200 and say they backed out before the event, is it part of our city code that we only refund them 75% of the 200? Or do they give them all the 200 back?
No, we've typically refunded funds if someone pulls out, and usually if somebody pulls out, and this is not just germane to Car Week, if somebody pulls out, it's usually for big reason, not good reason, medical health type of thing, and it seems punitive to keep those funds. And for some of the larger events, we do have the deposit fee, and that will go back as well. But
it's 100% refund.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I was just wondering with the event permit and the larger events, is there a fee for security and the police cost?
So Because our police department is so small, in previous years, we have requested that the event organizers pay for outside security, or if they have connections with off-duty police officers, whether they be Carmel police officers, they pay those fees. It used to be when we invoiced for the larger events, because we just had the 2 events, we split the costs of the shuttles, and the overtime would be part of the permit fees. We're not doing that any longer in terms of, police overtime. The events are requested to provide their own security, so there's no more city pass-through for that type of thing. And it may be that as events grow, we look at doing a similar model for that in the future, but the event organizers are responsible for those things. And again, we have our VIPs who are walking around, and on-duty police officers, they were on foot this year, as well as on bicycle going through things, so, and available to help. And of course, Leslie and I are walking around making sure everything's shipshape, and if there's any issues, reporting them as needed.
The VIPs make a good presence. They're volunteers, right? They're not paid.
That's correct. They are volunteers, and they do a great job. They're great community ambassadors, and we really appreciate working with them, not only during Car Week, but for all of our events, supporting us with those and keeping people safe.
Great. Well, if there are no other questions, we'll move to the next item, which is receiving an update on the 2023 special events calendar for the city and potential new events, and discuss.
Okay, so we are just, I feel like now we're in the thick of it for community activities events. This Saturday is Sandcastle Contest, so please join us. And I did an updated, very brightly colored event calendar, which we had published in the Pine Cone a couple weeks, so full page, so people could stick it on their fridge and know what's coming up. Oh, yes, I have the poster up at the post office. Yeah, and the libraries as well. Thanks, Donna. So to keep everybody informed about what's happening, and we're getting more as we progress in. I think I have all of the events for September. They've been up on the website since mid-August, and we'll be getting October up there as well. One thing that we're trying out in September is we're going to try a Good Neighbors Week, and I'm hoping that some things can grow kind of organically. And out of that, it was an interesting initiative that Leslie and I discovered, and so I included the poster, and this is up on the website as well, but just something to think about. And I think one of the good things that came out of the pandemic is that people did start to connect more with their neighbors. We're on lockdown, and who are they? And we have new people who moved from the Bay Area and various places. But just to remind ourselves that, neighbors are nice. And not only that, our village has so much to offer, and we can do these things together. This will culminate, of course, in our Community Day on September 30th. So we have all of our groups, and thank you to everybody. I think we've had 17 or 18 groups already who want to participate. That will be wonderful, so that groups can share the good work that they do, if they're looking for volunteers. And it's a wonderful way. I know when I worked at City Hall, it was a frequent question at the counter. I'm new in town. How do I volunteer? Who do I talk to? And so this is a great way to do that. And I'm hoping that we can make this a twice-a-year thing, so that will happen in the springtime and in the fall, so people have those opportunities, because we have so many wonderful groups doing good things for our community, and it's nice to be involved. So we'll see how that progresses, and interest that it generates, and consider doing it again in the springtime. For the rest of October and November, it's our usual events. No changes there to those. I am looking at doing in the spring, so it's a little ahead of the game, and I'll probably bring this back to the commission for discussion, but doing a volunteer appreciation week type of thing, different from Community Day. And this is to thank, people who volunteer directly with the city, such as yourselves here on this commission, and give your time to support our events and what we do, but also a broader community group. I don't have besides knowing that the volunteer week, I think it starts April 14th, besides having that on the calendar, I'm still brainstorming what those types of things could look like. And again, I'll bring it back to the commission for ideas. So if you have anything, I'm not sure if it would be a big block party or something, but I think it's time for us to start doing something on the regular to honor the people who make our community the great place it is to live and to work.
I have a comment, this Good Neighbor Week. I love this flyer. I read that and I thought, reminds me when I walk out of my house and people are walking their dog who I don't know to say hello. It reminded me. I love this. So I think it's, I assume it's on the Friday letter. And I assume, that it's just a reminder that, to say hello to everybody and update your library card, which I need to do. It's another reminder. So, and the Community Day, I've encouraged every nonprofit I know to try and get involved because so many of them say, oh, I didn't know you existed. And it could be the Rotary or the Lions or any group that's been here forever. And people just don't know. And it really does, as they wander through the park that day. And I'm hoping you'll get more tables now. And I was asked, what are you furnishing? They have to bring their own tables and chairs, per se.
Yeah, we have a limited cache of those types of things, so I would encourage everybody to make those arrangements. If there is a group that really is in need and doesn't have them, or lifting is an issue, we do have tables and chairs that we can share.
And to remind them that the library has that nice meeting room.
Yes, we do.
That's still not as well known as I think it should be.
And then we will be, again, reaching out to all of you for the rest of the events to look for volunteer help with our pumpkin roll and the Halloween parade.
And home crafters.
And home crafters, 4 a.m. Who wants to stand in the North lot with us?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the home crafters jury, we juried for 8 hours. I took a little break, but 45 vendors. It was interesting and a long day, but it was interesting to see the type of information and projects that people have. So I hadn't done it for a few years, so you guys might think about it next year, which reminds me about additional commissioners.
Yes, that is on my list, working with the city clerk. What was I going to say? Lost my train of thought. So many events. And I think Leslie's getting the word out about participation in the Halloween parade. So stay tuned on that. I know emails went out to the board and commission members to get their input as to whether or not they'd be participating, and then we'll work our way out to the larger community from there. So looking forward to the Halloween parade this year.
Ellen, are you going to be in the parade with the commission, or are you going to be in it with a different group? Only because I'm looking for a
Putting you on the
convertible.
You're breaking my heart here.
Well, if you are, I just want a convertible for 2 because I have somebody else who has a Corvette, but it's only for 1. So I would
Well, I've been
prefer-
talking to my team about it, and I said, I don't want to come up with an idea. You guys. And yesterday they came up with the dancing witches.
Okay.
That sounds fun. You could have a dance off with the women's club because they're always dressed as witches. I would like
Anyway,
to see that.
there's on YouTube. It's a German. There's a really sweet. So
You don't
I'll
know.
probably be with the group that
You'll
represents.
be a witch,
First Night.
okay.
Okay.
That's okay. That's
I'm going to
fine.
be a wicked witch.
John, and John goes with the
I
kids
usually take the kids, yeah.
Yeah, so,
That is absolutely, I mean,
and I'll be alone.
the great thing
You're like
about this
picking up the
parade
candy.
is that there's so many different ways to participate and so many groups to participate with that
Right.
I think the important thing is just that we all get to have fun together.
Yeah, we're all there in some format.
Yes.
And then I think Nancy had something that she wanted to say.
Yeah, Just assuming we were well-behaved participants in the prior year, the invitation will be extended to us for the following year as a general rule of thumb.
Absolutely, yes. We have our running list that we send them out to, but if you know of groups that want to participate, yes. Generally everybody's pretty well behaved.
Yeah. super. Oh, and then the other comment about the parade is that with the giving out of candy to the kids along the sidewalks, it really does cause us to need to slow down. Last year it was like a running thing, and it was really fast. So I desperately look for some pacing that's better than last year, just as a request.
I will add that in as we start to plan and work on staff for closing streets down and all of that. Thank you, Nancy.
Yeah, that's a good point. It was quick last year, but it's always fantastic. The kids love it. Look forward to it every year.
Yeah,
So do the parents. Yep. Okay, if there's no other comments, let's move on to receive an update on the farmers market.
So farmers market, we're getting close to start to wind down for fall. Probably be busy through the rest of September, and of course we've got our third Thursday events in September and October, and then those will cease during the winter months because it's much too dark in the park by that time of night to do anything safely. So that will come back. We've had a full market. We generally have space for 2 or 3 community groups, but the last month or so I've had to be very strict about only 2 groups at a time because we needed those space for the vendors. And I love having the community groups there. It's such a great way for people to get the word out. Our city departments are using it so they can talk about traffic control things and planning department initiatives, and I'm so pleased it's become so popular because I think it's a really great way, and specifically because the farmers market is both for locals and visitors passing through. But the number of times I see our council members there talking to citizens, it's an important meeting place, not only important to get your vegetables, but all of those other things that happen, on the fly as you pass by somebody or stop and talk to the CRA about what they have going on. So I'm very pleased about that, and we'll keep on keeping on. And thanks to Good Roots for doing such a great job and being so creative. I enjoy working with them.
Any other comments? All right. With that, I think we move to future agenda items.
So I'm sure all of you will watch, but I will bring back the full Car Week After Action to all of you just for review. At this point, we do have, let's see if that by that time, we'll have after actions for the Halloween parade, probably not Community Day because that would be a quick turnaround, but if I can, then we will. And that's all I have for the moment, besides a shout out, and I will be doing this next month for volunteers for home crafters, in particular pumpkin roll and Halloween parade as we get into those. And that's it. That's all I have for future agenda items. Does anybody have anything they'd like to see next month?
No, but I forgot at the beginning to mention that the Women's Club has Women in Finance, a free seminar on the 19th at 5 o'clock. And it's in the library, not the library, the post office. And we're doing that with Junior League, and they did it at Community Foundation, and it was very successful. And the Women's Club last Saturday had a lobster fest that was attended by 144, and extremely successful. And we raised a very large amount of money for women returning to college, women who had kids at 16 or veterans, or women with no skills at 40 and their husband dies, no money. So these are needy women who go to MPC and then transfer to CSUMB, and they become teachers and nurses. The program's been very successful. So and I want to thank the community because we had huge community support for that event. And then this free event with Women in Finance, and it's for men too. It's not, it's an attorney, a planner, and the other one is a medical doctor possibly that we've set up with Junior League. They thought it was so important to do. So everybody come out. Thank you.
All right, if there are no other comments, thank you so much for all your work, and we'll adjourn.